Hello YouTube. A Ten Commandments monument has been destroyed less than a day after its unveiling. It barely made it 24 hours. Didn't even make it 24 hours. This happened at the Arkansas State Capitol, and it happened early Wednesday morning. It had been erected on the state government property by law. A man by the name of Michael Tate Reed, 32 years old, was arrested after Capitol Police saw him drive onto the Capitol grounds in Little Rock and intentionally ram his car into the monument, breaking it, knocking it down. And he did so on Facebook Live. And I do have that video to show you in just a little bit. So please hang around for that. One thing I want you to see, though, is that CNN, the fake stream media, is already changing their story on this. I will show you the actual article. It is written by Tina Burnside. This is a snapshot that I saved into Pocket, which saves it prior to them making changes. And as you can see, it says right there, he was arrested after the police saw him drive. Okay? Now I'm going to show you something else real quick. Now that it's been 24 hours, they've set bond for the guy. His bond is now $100,000. And now that same paragraph, Michael Tate Reed, 32, is facing charges of defacing a object of public interest, criminal mischief in the first degree, criminal trespass, according to the sheriff's office, and that he is suspected of driving his 2016 Dodge Dart over the lawn. Well, that's a hell of a lot different. I mean, he goes from police seeing him, police saw him drive onto the Capitol grounds, and now, all of a sudden, he's just a suspect. It's just a possibility. There's a big difference between the police seeing you do it and it being an absolute, and now having all this legalese terminology. I found that amusing. I had saved this stuff a day or two ago when it originally happened, and when I started to dive into it today to make the video, when I saw that pissed me off. Because, as you could see originally, there wasn't any legalese about being suspected or possible or alleged. It was that the cops saw him and he absolutely did it. Not only that, but he streamed it to Facebook Live. Of course, he's facing those charges. They claim here at first, and information has changed. Originally, they did not know exactly why he did it. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee had tweeted that an idiot had broken all 10 commandments at the same time. And he wasn't Moses, and it wasn't on Mount Sinai, so that was rather amusing. Initially, one report here states that they weren't real sure if it was going to be restored right away. However, I have read in one of these reports that the monument has already been reordered and paid for. And the reason they had put that up there was not just religious reasons. It was the fact that despite whether people like religion or not, the Ten Commandments are in fact a basis for law in the United States. They are a basis, for the laws of our land. So that, is one good reason for them to be there. It's not just that it's a religious, item. Some people are against the fact that this has been put up there. Other people, are fully supportive of it. But now that it's been updated, he has $100,000 bond, and it's become obvious that this same man is the same guy that destroyed uh, the Oklahoma Ten Commandments, and he had done that and claimed that he had mental health issues, and then later wrote them a email apologizing for what he did and that he was sorry and he wished that he could take it back. However, here he is doing it again. One thing that I wanted to point out is you can go and you can look all over the internet. This is not front page news anywhere. I'm showing you a CNN story right now, but it's not on CNN's front page. It's buried. I found it through other sources. It is not on the front page of ABC. It's not even on the front page of Fox. It's buried everywhere. Like, people don't want to talk about it. MSNBC, I could not even find a story from them. They didn't even bother to cover it. Now, imagine if the tables were turned. If this was a gay monument, or if this was an Islamic monument, all holy hell would break loose. It would be all over front page news. People would be screaming bloody murder. Your little leftist rioting rampage kiddies would be out there screaming, and it aggravates me that, again, people look at it like it's okay to do this to a Christian. It's okay to do this to anybody of the Christian faith or anything that they stand for. It's okay to attack them. If they're white or if they're Christian, it's okay to do it. But, God forbid, if this had been an Islamic monument or a gay monument, it would be front page on CNN for the next 4 frickin' weeks. And we all know that's true. Whether you agree with the monument of being there or not, the fact that it's treated differently in the media is true, and it's not right. That abuses like this should not be allowed, period. Now here, without further ado, I am going to show you this man's crazy Facebook live stream.
Where do you go when you're faced with adversity and trials and challenges and then...
Oh my goodness. Freedom!
Freedom, really.
That you, O fierce king, who understands evil dark schemes, yes, you, O Donald Trump, you sealed your fate when you joined those who destroy the earth by signing your executive order to continue the pipeline through Dakota, showing your support of what was done to the Indian people.
Now, what the fuck does the Dakota pipeline have to do with this? What does it have to do with the Ten Commandment thing? And screaming freedom before you do it? Oh yeah, I'm going to express my freedom by destroying the freedom of others to freely express themselves. Bullshit.
For I am descendant of the tribe of Cherokee.
The fuck he is.
And my grandfather was German. For the Fourth Reich has come. And it will be called Zion. It shall rise from this nation once it's burned to the ground.
Okay, so obviously the guy is a fucking nut job.
Man, if they tell these
Screaming freedom before he goes in there by impeding the freedoms of others. That's just messed up. Attacking a monument of the Ten Commandments has jack all to do with anything he talked about, and then the nut job goes on about the Fourth Reich, like some kind of white supremacist junk. I mean, that the guy is obviously sick. The article that was on the Las Vegas Review Journal, where I snagged that Facebook Live clip from, does state that in the 2015 email, he had apologized to Tulsa, Oklahoma for doing the same dang thing there. And of course he had a whole different excuse that time, in that he wishes he could take it all back. You can see that right up there. I'm so sorry, and I wish I could take it back. Apparently he had mental health issues, that had led to this. So, I find the whole state of affairs to be rather sad. And, I don't know why this is being buried. Mike Huckabee's comment was pretty funny. But, it's really sad that things like this, against Christians get buried. But if it had been gay or Islamic, it'd be blowing up all over the media. And I think things like this need to be known, and it needs to be put out there that stuff like this isn't okay. The other big point that really bothered me is how CNN was changing their the story, from cops witnessing it to all of this legalese terminology of it's alleged and suspected and possibly his car. That's really different than what they originally reported, that police had seen him. That's huge. That's a giant difference from, going and this, what's her name? Tina Burnside, changing the story, and you can see all she did was alter the paragraph. And this is common in news stories. As info comes out, they go back and they update it. That's fine. But there is a huge difference between this what if maybe type paragraph and this, where they absolutely saw it. There is a huge difference. So again, you have the fake stream media, the FSM as I like to call them. So anyways, it's unfortunate this happened. However, they do have another one on order, and that'll be a good thing, because it should be there. Our country was founded by people of faith, for people of faith, to escape religious persecution. And this whole deal that people put out with separation of church and state and trying to claim that it can't be there, that's total bullshit. Separation of church and state is not in the Constitution. That was taken from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to a Baptist group. And actually, in the context and what he was saying, when he used the words separation of church and state, he was allaying their fears that the government was going to come in and take over their church. He was telling them that that would not happen because of the separation of church and state, that the state would never meddle in the affairs of the church, and also that the church would never become the government. It did not mean that government and church could not be involved with each other. It did not mean that they could not pray. It did not mean that you could not have a prayer in Congress or an expression of a religious faith anywhere. The way that the judges and the lawyers have played with things now is a crime, because they're playing with the words and twisting it into something different than what was meant. And that is very obvious when God is mentioned multiple times in the documents, on the money. His symbols are everywhere. The original Congress, the original founders opened Congress with prayers. Many of them were, in fact, pastors. So, them trying to claim that, something like the Ten Commandments can't be there. It's just not right. It's not legal, it's not right, it's a violation of the Constitution. And people trying to claim it's a violation of the Constitution for it to be there are liars and people that don't actually know the Constitution. Because nowhere in the Constitution does it say that religion cannot be involved with government. What it says is that it will not be the government. Huge difference. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. Remember to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more because there's a whole lot more planned coming.